Hello, nerdy neighbors. Welcome back to the neighborhood and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, your Friendly Neighborhood by Lauren, and I'm here today with our next indie comic creator guest. But this one is super special to me because they are actually one of the editors for the Comic Book Yeti, which if you guys know me, you know I've done some interviews for them, which is great. So I'm super excited to share with you guys. Al Davidson, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. It is so exciting to have a fellow Yeti on the channel. I feel like we should be creating chaos or else Matt's going to be like, do more, do better.
That's on par for him, yes.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on because I feel like, you know, you and the rest of the Yeti team are also great at, you know, highlighting other people's work and helping other people, you know, especially with the editing side you do. But you have your own great projects that you've been working on for quite a while, especially lots of fun gay shit, which I am super excited to get into because I want more gay shit on this channel. It needs to be here.
That's all I do.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. It is very appreciated. We need it. I'm very interested to talk first about your web novel that you have going because I've never talked about a web novel on this channel before. It's called Wayward Souls, not Sons, Wayward Souls of Avalon. Sorry, I almost said sons because gay boys. I can't help it. But it's a gay romance. It's sci-fi. It's good. It's fun. It's really cute. I read the first chapter on your Patreon where it's going, and you made me want to like jump through the pages and like hug Jocasta, who is the main character we've talked to. You know, where did this come from?
There is a writing platform called Vocal, and they do these really like unique challenges where they'll be like, okay, so we want you to write the first chapter of a fantasy series or a sci-fi series, and we're going to give you the first line. And which I think is really cool because you watch an entire community take the genre of sci-fi with the same line and go in so many different directions, and it's really kind of a cool like creative process and community. And this story came from one of their prompts over the summer, which was a sci-fi, like write the first chapter of a sci-fi book, and I'm like started to write it down, and then I just like posted it on Vocal and just called it a day, and it kept coming back, and I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I really like these characters, I like this idea. I had been writing a very, very heavy 8-novel space opera series with lots of war and lots of violence and lots of horror. And I'm like, man, I just kind of need a break. So let's write something cute and fluffy. And I'm a huge slice of life, like anime and webtoon fan. I like, give me all of that, like people sitting down, having coffee, talking about life kind of stuff. And then I just kind of turned that, you know, single one-off chapter into this web novel. And now it's 44 chapters in. So...
Which is, I mean, that's huge. Not only to have a web novel be that long, but just doing it for that long.
Yeah.
How long time-wise is that? Like a year at least?
I think the Vocal Challenge was in end of June, and I think I came back to it in the middle of August. So I've only been writing it since about the last week of August of this year.
What? That's insane. So, that's like, how do you write that and then probably work and then also probably write 5 other things we don't know about?
Yeah, it's called not having a life. It's called getting off of work and coming home and playing 15 minutes of Animal Crossing and then just sitting down and writing for like 6 hours. And I think I average like 27 to 32 hours of creative writing on pages a week. So that's just kind of, it's my happy place is to just, you know, like make my poor characters go through a whole bunch of chaos for the cute little like 1 paragraph payoff moment.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that's, you know, one of the joys of creating is, you know, we all have reasons for putting characters through things, even if we love those characters. It's like, we don't want to just make them cry, even though it does give some weird joy. We want to make them do this because this is what's going to result from it.
Yeah, exactly.
For those of you guys watching this later, of course, you can see on here, it is on Patreon. I'll put the link in the description so those of you super lazy like me can just click. And like, if you click like 3 or 4 times, you just get to subscribe to this great thing you can read 40 plus chapters of. I mean, it's like 3 clicks and bam, 40 something chapters.
Yeah, I have 1 to 2 chapters scheduled out every single week, all the way through the end of May of next year. So it's like you're going to be getting like, I think it's nice to get emails like that of, oh, hey, there's a new fun thing in your inbox on the weekend kind of thing. So
Yeah, and it's not like the trashy spam emails that we're tired of.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
we don't want those, but this is kind of like a warm hug, I feel like.
Yeah.
One thing that really drew me to this, when you shared this with me and you're like, hey, this is something I'm working on, was that, it is kind of a slice of life and a soft story. Because, there's so many things, kind of like you're talking about that other project you're working on where there's a lot of war and horror and it sounds very intense. And those are great stories that need to be told as well. But I think lately we just need some nice things too. Some stuff that we can just gush over and be, really cute about. And the yearning in this first chapter. Ow. Oh my God. Listen, it's so good. I read mostly women stuff. But like, I want to like cry with these guys, man. I want to cry with Jocasta. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things is that, especially after, being, because my title again at Comic Book Yeti is the webcomics and manga editor and resident boys love expert. And I think that's one of the things is there's so many stories that are coming out now about like soft stories featuring men, and I think that's something that is just like, guys need soft stuff too, and we enjoy seeing that, more sensitive side of things. As much as we like the strong female leads, we also like the soft, have softer stories like that. And again, the world is so chaotic, and there's a chapter, I think it's like chapter 3 or 4 in this web novel, that they just sit down and make coffee and put shelves together and talk, and it is just the most cozy thing. And it's like sometimes you really just need that after a hard week of like getting a submission rejection or having a really hard week at work. And that's kind of why that slice of life genre is so nice, because it's it's comforting, it's cozy, it's not stressful, and I think we need more of that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I really love is that, so a lot of this chapter is like the inner monologue of the character Jocasta, who lost their significant other, I believe, husband, in this big debacle with space and the Earth being uninhabitable or destroyed, and then, got to fly off to Mars. Am I right on that?
Yep.
Am I missing details? Okay, I was going to say, I was like, if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, you're right.
But yeah, and so it starts off with all this yearning to the point where I remember this line. I wrote it down because it was so good. It's a sad choreography of loneliness. I was like, you can't beat that imagery and that yearning and that gut punch, But one thing I really love is that chapter ends with this big hope moment, with this big something new is coming in, and it won't necessarily erase the loneliness, but it's going to build upon it and build something new for Jocasta.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that like kept drawing me back after I wrote it and just kind of like shelved it. It was like there's something that was so hopeful that kept drawing me back in about the way that I just left that first chapter. And then I was like, well, I kind of want to see what happens next. And because there is that sense of hope at the very end. Like one of the my other patrons like actually commented like there's such a great sense of desperation and hope, and like that's exactly what I was going for. So I'm glad I nailed it.
Yeah, you did. I'm super big on the themes of hope. Like one of my favorite characters of all time is Supergirl. But also I love the Hunger Games books, and one of my favorite lines is when the jackass President Snow is talking about how the only thing stronger than fear is hope. And it's so true in so many different scenarios. It's one of my favorite themes to see in any story. But one thing I really love too is that even though this is kind of slice of life, and you've got the yearning and then you got the hope, you've also just got some great relatable moments, like when Jocasta's narrating that, oh, I can't cook because I don't even have the resources to waste. Not that I don't have the resources to make it, I don't have the resources to waste. And gives you that mindset of exactly just kind of how lost Jocasta is. You did such a great job nailing that. I'm almost worried for you. I'm like, I hope you haven't felt that.
I think it's one of those that is kind of like ended up being a like processing the last couple of years type of situation, because if you look at the sense of the novel, like the web novel, it is 2 men trapped in a space station for a year, unable to leave. They have no idea what they're doing. They just have to hope that they can somehow get back to the rest of humanity. And I felt like that was such a relatable thing of like, being trapped in my apartment and wondering when the next time I was going to be able to get to go to the grocery store was going to be. And so I think it was kind of like a personal process type of thing, but I also think it's something that so many people can now relate to, because it's like, whenever I like talk about this on like TikTok and stuff like that, I'm like, if you like The Martian, you're probably going to like my web novel. And I don't think a lot of people now, actually having lived through having to be stuck and like looking at my stack of potatoes and be like, how many potatoes can I eat today kind of thing. Is,
right.
You know, that's something that so many people now in the world that we live in today can be like, oh, I can understand and relate to this when, you know, and feel some sense of, you know, commonality with these characters, which was, you know, an approach that I really wanted to try to tackle with this story.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, right? Like, I felt like I was like, well, now I'm Jocasta. Like, I'm not a man, and I'm not in space, but damn it, here I am. I want to go back to that element and theme you mentioned earlier. I feel like I grazed it a little bit in terms of the with the men and, you know, having soft stories. That's so important, you know. And I know, you know, I'm a woman and such, but, you know, it's so important that men get those stories too, and that you know, other people that aren't men also see those stories and see that hey, men can be soft too. I think, you know, rather than looking at only men and saying, well, you guys need to rewire your mindset, we still have a long ways to go.
Agreed.
You know, so I'm super excited to see all the other soft moments throughout the series, because I have 40 plus chapters to catch up on, which is amazing. I'm so excited. The content never ends, and unlike HBO, it's not getting deleted. So thank you for that. Do you have any sort of update schedule for this on Patreon, like in terms of weekly or monthly? It seems like you're doing almost every other day or something to get out 40 something chapters this quickly.
It is one chapter a week.
Okay.
So, and it uploads on at 4:30 on Saturdays. Unless the chapter is like super short, then I'll upload the next chapter on Sunday. So some weeks you get 2, some weeks you get 1. And I think chapter 20 goes live this weekend, and then the rest of them are all scheduled out to I think the last one is scheduled to the 27th of May of next year, and then I have some more I'm sitting on working on, so I had a couple of Kickstarter things I had to work on so it's stopped me from had to go and work on my Minotaur horror thing and take a break from the cushiness, and I'm like just really ready to get back to my soft boys over here.
Right? No, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, as weird as that sounds to say. Bring up the Minotaur stuff. Please give it to me, because I live and breathe for Minotaurs. I don't, but I thought it was so cool when I looked at your lit magazine website, which I'm putting up, the bestiary. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, I think it's the bestiary, yeah.
Okay, bestiary, perfect. And I'm going to put it up on the screen in a second, but I loved how on the site you put that, you know, the Kickstarter campaign funded the printed version of a Minotaur-themed queer erotic horror short story.
Yes.
And that's so many crazy words put together. Please tell me about this project, because it sounds phenomenally great.
Yeah, I have found myself to, like, I've just become the person who just does all of the weird genres that shouldn't go together, but they're now all together. But yeah, so there was a sub-call for an anthology over the summer that specifically asked for dark retellings of fairy tales that were queer erotic horror. And I'm just sitting there going, Minotaur.
Of all the options, fairies, this, that, Minotaur.
And I think that was exactly why, because so many of my brains are when you sit down and think of, like, you know, erotica and those types of things, you're going to be thinking of like the sexy, sultry, the fairies and the sirens. And I'm like, no, give me the Minotaur. And I had been just going ham on playing Hades on my Switch. And so
there you go.
Things in my head, I'm sitting there going, yeah, this needs to happen. And I just wrote this, you know, short story. And as I'm sitting there, like, waiting for like the sub-call responses, I'm like, I want to publish this as a standalone thing. And so on a whim, with 3 weeks before the launch date, I'm like, I'm going to launch a Kickstarter because I hate myself. And lo and behold, it somehow got funded, and the zines are actually just got shipped today. They should be at my place by the weekend. So Kickstarter fulfillment is actually going to be 2 months earlier than I thought it was going to, which is awesome.
Yes, I feel like you're becoming the Oprah of Minotaurs, whether you like it or not. You get a Minotaur and Minotaur erotica at that. I mean, and it's queer. Must piss off so many people. I think it's fantastic.
I was surprised at the amount of people that like showed interest in it. Like, I guess I didn't realize how big like the monster lover community actually was until I like delved into this side of things. And because for some reason my brain is just sitting there going, oh, it's like, you know, orcs and fairies and stuff like that. But then someone mentioned to me, goes, I mean, you technically could classify things like Mass Effect and Aliens as monster lover too. And I'm just like, oh, that explains a lot of all of this.
You know, I feel like that is so hard because like I get teased by like my family and friends for liking characters that are like, what's the word, anamorphic, or you know, they have animal like qualities in general, right? So they could be aliens, they can have tails, whatever. So I get chewed out for that. Then I get called a furry, and I'm like, I need a word for what I am because none of those words fit. So maybe I am learning I'm a monster lover today. Maybe that's what this episode really is.
You know, that's my mission in life, is to just explain to people what a monster lover is and explain to people the plot of the manga Dick Fight Island. I found that those are my two things in life, and that's just that's the realm I exist in, and we're here. So,
Dick Fight Island? I mean,
yes.
I'm not sure I want to go there, to be honest. Like, I'll let you be in charge of that. I'll just take my chances with the Minotaur to start. Like, that's my baby step.
It's one of those, and nobody believes me when I tell them it's real. But I'm like, no, this is a real manga series, and the creator actually wished me a happy birthday on Twitter. So that's what.
Hey, what more validation do you need? The creator of Dick Fighting Island or whatever said happy birthday to you. That's better than Beyonce saying it. I said it.
I think so. But yeah, so and after the Kickstarter, I'm like, man, I really like this community. It's weird and it's interesting. And so I was like, well, you know, I have nothing, you know, I have 7 other projects. I can start one more.
Why not?
Why not? So I just like decided to start this little lit mag, and submissions open tomorrow for the first issue, and I'm super excited for it. So
that's amazing. Yeah, so that will be December 15th, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I love it. And I can pull that up, I believe. Does it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if anything says on here. Yep. So, yeah, those of you watching, you guys can actually check out the website. I'll have that in the description below so you can lazily click. But yeah, if you want to submit something, send it. Teeth! That's a great start. I wish I had the time to write because I want to write for that one.
Yeah, so I was like, I wanted to do something that was like, we got illustrations, little mini comics, poetry, prose, you know, any sort of monster, bring on your weird monsters. And that's the other thing too, is I wanted to highlight other not normal types of things. I was like, I want to see like an asexual like romance story with an ogre, and I want to see like a whole bunch of like, I just give me all of the weird like things that aren't typical that people think of when you think of just like, oh, I want like a romance lit mag. I'm like, no, give me all of the weird stuff, give me all of the stuff that nobody's gonna think about. And I'm super excited to see what's going to happen tomorrow. I know someone actually tweeted this like, oh yeah, I canceled everything I was doing to sit down and write something for this. I'm like, yes, flood my inbox with it.
I love it. And I love how excited you are about it. And I think the way you have this formatted and set up, and you know, it's pretty open. You have themes and such and basic guidelines, but past that, you're just open to the chaos and the silliness and the heartbreak and the sappy shit. Like, I love this. And again, I might be a monster lover. I'm having a crisis. I don't know what you call it. Like, it's not a religious crisis, but it's a crisis of something. It
was one of those things when I found out that was what I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I was like, that explains why I liked Beauty and the Beast so much as a kid. I was like, that was it.
Awful, but like, true. I can't blame you. Why is the Beast hotter as the Beast than a human? Human him, hideous. Throw it away.
So it's all Disney's fault.
And yeah, the lesson of that movie shouldn't have been make him human. It should have been keep him the Beast and love him as the Beast. Facts. Next question.
Get the beast, get the library, done. That's what you need.
Look, it's the two sides of every nerd, a library and a beast. It's all we want. That's all we need.
Is.
I mean, listen, every creator, you can do whatever you want in the library. You can draw, you can do computer stuff, you can write, you can do anything. And then you have the beast for, other things, which are great. So it's a win-win. But all seriousness, you've got me all excited about this. It looks so fun. It looks so welcoming and inclusive, which I think is more important than ever with all the craziness and things like that. And I'm interested, I wanted to just touch on, your title that you mentioned earlier with the Comic Book Yeti, because we got the webtoons and manga editor, but you got that second fun part that you mentioned, something about resident boy lovers expert or something. Tell me how that came about.
I don't quite know. That's the main genre of stuff that I read. And it has been a major genre that I've read since, I've been reading manga for the better part of 20 years. I started reading when I was 10. And that was kind of right when I was in high school. It was when they started introducing that kind of back then it was called yaoi, which is now a no longer active term, which is called boys love and girls love, which I think is great.
Right.
And that was what I was reading lots of the webtoons and the webcomics of when I, stumbled my way into Comic Book Yeti. So that was what I was writing reviews for. And it just kind of became the running joke that it's that's what you do. And I was yeah, that's the majority of what I do, but they pull numbers. Those reviews pull numbers and people read them. So,
yeah.
But,
I think it's important to really, understand that with fandoms, there are these very specific pockets or these niches that people are really excited about, and they just want a safe community and safe platform to express themselves and enjoy what they love. So I really love that you're adding to that, because even if people aren't into, all this stuff in terms of the monster lover, if they're okay, you don't have to be here.
Yeah.
But I think everybody can appreciate that you're just making a safe platform and a fun platform for everybody to really embrace themselves in.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the other big things is that the boys love stuff, and especially, and girls love too, can get that way too, but the boys love especially can get so dark, and it can get very heavy. And so that's one of the things that I really like about what we do at Comic Book Yeti is that, we highlight those good parts and the bad parts, and so that people who are oh, I've heard about this and I'm interested in it, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to read. It helps kind of break down, hey, these are the things that, you can look out for that may be possibly triggering or be a bit too heavy for you. And this is a good series to start with, kind of thing like that. Because again, with those niche pocket things is that some people, the fandoms can get heavy, the content can get heavy, and it can be very scary to step into those type of things. And so, as someone who literally has a wall of BL merchandise and manga in her office. This whole back wall back here is literally nothing but boys love manga. Is I read it all, and I can give those recommendations. Hey, this is definitely something you don't want to start with. I actually had to do that at work the other day at the bookstore. Someone brought something up, and I looked at it, and I was and she's ooh, what's wrong? I was oh, this is not one you want to start with at all, because she's just yeah, I was so excited. I haven't read manga in years. And I'm so excited to start back up. And I was that's definitely not the one you want to start with, because it was one of those that I've had to return it. I just needed 3 layers of plastic wrap. And that's one of the things that I like about what we do at Comic Book Yeti is that we are so, focused on those niche communities and the indie communities and those little pocket type of fandoms that we can kind of help bring them out to the mainstream in a way that's easy to understand and bite size, so that more people can find things that they enjoy. So it's it's a good mission.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's why when I'm not as crazy as I am now with my life, I love getting the opportunity to work with you all as well and do interviews. You guys are some of the best people I have worked with and some of the best people in the community, which is so great. And I love that you guys cover so much. You guys are focused on comics, but you cover manga, other stories, things like that. So I love that you guys have so many different audiences and formats you're willing to make the effort to reach if people want it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I wanted to mention before we get out of here, you do have a website and all that good stuff. Is there anything specific on your website that you wanted to highlight for people?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, that is hopefully the place that the rest of the Kickstarter zines that aren't going to backers are going to go. So if you're interested in the Monster Lover, Minotaur thing. Hopefully it will be on there. Some of my sample like short stories, like when I introduce myself, I say I write massive space operas and tiny disturbances, and that's what I call my flash fiction and short story pieces are the disturbances. So I have a few of them on the website for you to like sit down and peruse and things like that, and just all those fun links to the webcomic or the web novel. And I have a set of characters named Strauss and Santiago, and they have been featured in 8-9 different stories across like several different lit mags and publishers, and the anthology I'm going to be in next year actually features those characters, so there's information about them on there as well. So all that fun stuff, where to find me, updates on my space opera series that is taking an eon to write.
Well, it's a space opera. I don't think space operas are meant to be finished quickly, and if you do finish quickly, you've probably done something not great.
Agreed. Yeah, it's book 5 I finished, and I'm almost done with book 6, and there's going to be 8 of them, and I think it's at like a 1.5 million word count right now between.
Oh my gosh.
It's huge. But it's not a hard read. Like, I have friends who have read like War and Peace, and they're just like, oh, this is way easier. And I was like, oh, that's good. I don't want to like give people headaches, but it's like,
no, that's good to know.
It's for that community of people who like me, who grew up on Quizilla reading fan fiction that had like thousands of chapters, and we like all those like lore pieces. And I'm like, a lot of people are like, oh, nobody wants to publish and nobody wants to read books that are thousands of pages. I was like, have you seen the fan fiction community? We will devour it.
Listen, every fandom has those 1 to 3 fics on archive of our own that are the long masterpieces, and everybody that like has been in the fandom for like longer than like probably like a month at most knows them. Like, even if you haven't read them yet, you know them. Like, I know some off the top of my head from fandoms I know, and I'm like, oh, they're just put them in a book and I would buy it. If they found a way to print it, I would pay them money for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like people are just like, we like people who are into webcomics and webtoons. I mean, webtoon seasons last for like 52 episodes a season, and they're huge. It's like, we like those massive things of content, and so I'm like, okay, just wait until you get this. I think it's 4,200 pages of content right now, and 2 of the books aren't even finished.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm like, you're gonna have all the content. It'll be it'll take a hot second for me to finish writing it between all the other rest of the projects I'm doing. So.
I think that's okay. That's the point I am, especially with creators. I'm like, look, if we're going to get something that you're super proud of as a creator and that we're going to enjoy, please take your time with it, because the second comes out, it's going to be great. I might whine a little bit in between as a fan, but it's going to be great when it comes out. I'd rather that than people be like, okay, well, I just have a deadline to meet, or I just need to do this.
Right.
Because I think we see that especially with a lot of people that get super duper successful and they just start writing everything, or they just start creating everything, whatever they do. And then their work gets kind of, what's the word? I can't think of it, but there's a word people say when, it's like on Kickstarter where people have like, there's just so much on there. People are starting to go to Zoop because there's less. It's kind of like that. Like, their work, it's just like, oh, you can't read their work and really know that's going to be great quality all the time, because they write 15 different things at once.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like, especially like working at the bookstore that I work at, we have an entire shelf of James Patterson stuff. He takes up an entire floor to ceiling shelf with his work, and he's still come out with like 3 or 4 new books a year. And it's like, 1, how do you keep track of all that? 2, you're not writing all that yourself.
No, there's no way. And why would he? Like, if he doesn't have to, he makes all this money. He's super successful for reasons I don't understand. Right. I mean, again, great. Like, I'm not going to, try to say anything on that, but like, what the hell? Like, it's just an anomaly. Like, how did this happen? I can't explain it to you.
So it's like I'm, in between. I take my time with my writing and do little short stories, and this web novel's been a great break. And I think I'm probably going to be able to have the whole thing finished by maybe end of next month. But the nice thing is that I'm going to have content scheduled out for everyone until December of next year.
Oh my gosh, crazy.
Which will be, great. Then I'm going to be like, at least I have something for people to continue to read while I'm working on these other things. So
yeah, that's amazing that you're able to do that. I know that's probably a big relief on you as a creator, because like you just said, you have all that content till then. So even if stuff does happen and you fall behind, you'll probably have time to pick yourself back up. I don't think a lot of fans realize how hard it is being a creator sometimes.
No, that's one of the hardest things, especially like being the webcomics person for Comic Book Yeti, is like watching people who are, webcomic creators, but who are also friends, sit down and watch, have to go through fans yelling at them for needing to take a break for their health. Like that is just, it's so painful to watch. And it's like, I don't think people realize that it's like, a lot of those people are doing the line work and the coloring and the writing and the lettering all on their own until they are able to get big enough to be able to like have some people to help. It's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot. I do even just my channel here myself and stuff, and that's exhausting. So I can't imagine doing such a project as even a webtoon, a comic, a web novel, even because then you're doing, like you said, 5-hour jobs. You're being this and this and this. You're also being the marketer. You're also doing this. You're doing the social media. They're all literally jobs that people have separately, but you have to do them all yourself until you make a break.
Yeah.
And it's a tough process, but I'm super excited to see all you're doing. It sounds like overall you have so many great things together, and having multiple things to work on keeps you sane and happy as a creator, and making content that not only you enjoy, but we can enjoy and have fun with, especially the soft boys and the monster lover content. I'm excited.
Yeah. That's what I do. I am the soft boy and monster lover maker. That's what I do. So
you need a t-shirt or something. I'm gonna bother Matt at the Comic Book Yeti and say, hey Matt, can we get Al a t-shirt, please and thank?
I don't think he wants to make my title any longer than it already is. It doesn't fit on the Discord banner.
It's true. That's why it's going on a t-shirt. And on a t-shirt you have the front and the back. It's a win-win. Or if you like beanies, we'll give you we got options.
Yeah, that would work.
It can go around in a little circle. That would be so cute. I think that's a good option. I think that's a good option. Well, is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we get out of here? Anything I missed? Anything I forgot?
No, I think that's everything. I've, have so many things going on all at once. I'm sure there's probably like 7 other things we could talk about. But so that's it.
Right? No, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so great to chat with you, and so great to realize that I'm probably a monster lover, and I'm going to have that stamped on my forehead for the rest of my life. So
welcome.
I'll know the people that watch this interview, because they're going to come tease me. I will know if you watch this video, people. I'm prepared. Because when y'all say you've watched this and you don't call me a monster lover, then I know you haven't watched it. So
there you go.
But all that said, Al, tell us where we can find you. I'm going to drop links in the description below so people can click, but I think it's always good just to hear it from you too.
Yeah, my Patreon is Alicia Davidson Author, super easy to find. My website is disturbances.alicia.weebly.com. Because their domains are expensive and I don't want to pay for one yet. I am on Twitter as Maybe Mockingbird. It's MAYB Mockingbird. And then, of course, the Bestiary, my lit mag, which, have the link in the description for that. And it's Bestiary Lit Mag on Twitter and the Bestiary Lit Mag on Instagram.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. It has been such a joy to have you here. Super excited to have you on in the future, hopefully, so you can traumatize me more. No, I'm kidding. So you can bring great content to us.
What I do.
And thank you. And thank you, nerdy neighbors, for watching. Be sure to check out the Comic Book Yeti as well. If you haven't, you should, because the Yeti will find you, whether you like it or not. So go check them out on Twitter. Check out the website. They are all super amazing at what they do. And you can follow the show's Twitter here at NBHD Comic Show. All the other links in the description. All that great stuff. Like, share, subscribe. All that super cheesy but important stuff that helps us out. And be sure to check out Al's Patreon as well. That helps them out. And you also get a shit ton of content that you can't get anywhere else for like what, $3 a month. You can't beat that, guys. Just say no to Starbucks once a month is all we're asking. Just once.
It's not even a whole Starbucks at this point. It's like half of a cup of Starbucks.
Okay, say no to half a cup of Starbucks. I believe in you all. Inflation sucks, but we're gonna figure this out, guys. We're gonna figure it out. And we will see you guys next time in the Nerdy